AJ and Jessica and Christine for putting this together. A lot of technical work, sometimes a little more work since we're working at a distance now. Thank you for your efforts, and I want to thank the panelists for joining today and sharing your wisdom. I'm the tribe's education director, and I want to challenge all of you to think about what's next in your life. How are you going to contribute to your community? What's next in your training and education? Are you going to go vocational? Are you going to go academic and get a degree? I was with the council this morning, the tribal council. We still need so much as a tribal community and a tribal organization in our tribe. We need so much. We need professionals. When I look at all the leaders in our tribe and the administrators, only about 50% of them are tribal members who are in leadership positions and administrators. So we need you to think about what you're going to do in the future. Where are you going to go with your training and education? And remember, the tribe is here to support you. There's housing help, there's financial help. We just bought 100 computers for our college students, and we're deploying those. The tribe spent almost $1 million on computers to ensure that you, the students, have access to technology. And they were talking about $1 billion this morning to try to improve the infrastructure to get more internet services to all parts of the reservation. $1 billion access that they have coming down with the new stimulus. So think about questions you might have for the panelists. What kind of training and education and preparation did they have to go through to be at the prestigious colleges that they're all at? And we honor and thank the whole panel for being here and being on this Zoom today. Think of your good questions. And I want to thank you all for powering through this thing called the pandemic and the COVID-19. We're all sick of it, or they call it COVID fatigue, sick of wearing masks and having to be away from each other. It's really hard on Indian people not to be with our people, and be in relationships and ceremonies. I mean, we're people where we like to be around each other. So it's especially hard on us because we're so social and we're community people. So we sacrifice this for our families, to take care of our families and take care of one another. We don't bring home this virus, so we're sacrificing, just like our ancestors have sacrificed so much. They've sacrificed so much over the generations, and we're having to sacrifice now to take care of one another and not bring home this virus. It's around us. It's gotten closer. One of our tribal businesses had to close up. Our gas station had to close up because the COVID is really close. And they're trying to sanitize and clean. And so our business is closed there at the gas station because of COVID-19. It's close, it's around us. So remember to take care of yourself, and you're sacrificing for a reason, so to take care of your family. So anyway, welcome and thank you for being here, all of you, and have a good panel. Walk thou, walk thou. And we have lots of job openings too. We're looking for student tutors, good paying jobs. I think they start at like $16 an hour or something. So if you're looking for a part-time job, make sure you apply with the tribe. All right, walk thou.
AJ, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name's AJ Webster, also Anthony Webster on the screen, but most of you know me by AJ. I'm the one that's going to be taking the contact information for all the students. So make sure that you send me over your contact information in the chat box, because at the end of the session, we'll be deploying prizes out for everybody. And I'm looking forward to seeing the college panelists, and thank you everyone that made it. And also the students, take advantage of these opportunities. The tribe has a lot to offer, and the education department's working to offer a lot more. So stay tuned. Thank you.
Jessica. Jessica McKinnon, are you there? While we're waiting for Jessica, I did want to make sure that all of you are aware that there is financial aid. And if you are a senior this year, if you have not yet signed up for the FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid, that is something that you will want to do your senior year. That is money, a grant opportunity from the federal government. And as long as you continue and follow through with your education, that money you will not have to pay back. So that is an excellent way to get some assistance with the cost of school. So remember the FAFSA when you're a senior, that is something you need to do. Jessica, are you on?
I'm sorry, Chris, but for the contact information, students, it could either be whichever way I could contact you the easiest. If you check your email regularly and you're going to respond through email, we can do it that way, or a phone number, whichever you feel more comfortable with. But we want to make sure that we have a way to contact you after this meeting's done. So make sure it's either an email address or a phone number, either a personal phone number of your own or a parent phone number, just a way that I could always contact you.
Ms. Chris, Jessica isn't in the Zoom meeting anymore.
Okay, where are we? So let's go with, it looks like our first speaker that we have is Donald. And Donald is a student from Fort Lewis College. And Donald, I'm going to go through the questions. We'll get started with that. The first question that I have for you is to introduce yourself by your name, your family, your village, your tribe, and what your major is.
Okay. Ayakwe, Neck Now, Donald Moore, Nachekweo, Stephanie Weldon, Nape Setchweo, Glenmore, Napichwasweo, Awat Glenmore, Nakuchasweo, Mary McQuillan, Essie Carla Dempy Wolf, Chakik, Essie Turrup, Matewa Metchok, and Durango, Colorado. So yeah, hi, my name is Donald Moore. I introduced my family. I come from the villages of Chakik and Turrup, which are on the Klamath River, and I live in Durango, Colorado. I go to school, like Chris said, at Fort Lewis College, which is in Durango, Colorado, in the Southwest region, and I'm studying environmental studies, focusing on food systems.
Very nice. So the next question we have is, what school do you go to? We already covered that. Is it a traditional or an online school that you're attending? Are you in person at this time? How is that going for you?
Yeah, so it is a traditional, it's a 4-year college, not a university. Also, it is, there's a lot of Native Americans here, but it isn't a tribal college. Yeah, we're in person right now. Last year I started off in person, but then a spike hit towards November, so we had to go fully online. Right now we're starting to do that again, go in person, which I guarantee we'll probably have to go online again. It's a little tricky doing both. I would much rather be in person, be in my lab doing hands-on projects, but now we're on Zoom mostly, like what we're on now, and it's a little tricky. It's a little harder to learn, but it's something that I've gotten used to. And so I'm taking a hybrid class, an online class, and in-person class. So I guess a mix of all three.
Yeah, it's a tricky time for a lot of people. Colleges are all doing different things. So the third question I have for you then is, how has your cultural participation helped you to achieve your current level of success? And how are you active in the Native culture as a college student?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was looking when I was reading that, I was like, But my cultural participation has helped me achieve my current success in school by me remembering what we pray for in our ceremonies in the first place. As times have changed since my grandfather was my age, it is important that I remain determined to get this education so I could bring it back to my people. I think about the balance that we pray for in our high ceremonies and how in today's world education can bring that balance. And I'm active in my culture by when I come home, I learn what I can as much as I can because I'm so far away from home and the natives around here aren't really the same. You know, I'm not catching salmon in Colorado. I stay connected to my culture virtually, trying to continue learning language the best I can. But then when I am home, I'm constantly involved in ceremonies and trying to teach people that want to be taught too. So, yeah.
Thank you. So what's the hardest transitions from high school to college, and how have you been able to overcome them?
Yeah. One thing I thought about that I still a little bit struggle with, but really struggled with when I first got here and when I was in high school, was time management. That might be the biggest transition struggle from high school to college. It's very important to manage my time and practice skills, such as using a planner and planning days out because college, I might not be in class as much as someone in high school, but that might be the big problem is there's so much free time. There's new things, you're in a new town. So being able or kind of planning things out. And one of my biggest things is, and what I learned is being able to say no was something I had to learn as I got into college. And that could go for a lot of things. Even I think was it last year, there was a bunch of conferences, things back home, these things that I was getting paid to go to, so that was nice. But I was just doing it so much, and it was really great in my resume, but it kind of interfered with school. So one one time my boss was like, do you know the word no? And I was like, no. But so learning how to say no and balancing your time, I think, is one big thing that I think everyone should get down as early as they can.
That is a big one. Thank you for that. What advice do you have for your high school younger self on what you would have done differently to better prepare you for college? And what advice or tips do you have for students that are working toward attending college now?
I wasn't thinking about college too much my senior in high school or until my senior in high school. So I wish I was more serious about it during my younger years because those do really matter. I wish I was more time efficient, like I was talking about earlier, and more focused. And something else I would have done more was to talk to teachers in high school or counselors or people, academic advisors, because a lot more because if I would have asked about those challenges ahead of time, that would have been prepared me a lot more. So kind of taking it more serious because, and then that goes into my next part. My advice to all the students that are working towards college right now is to never stop and continue working to whatever goal they have, whether it's small or large. Even to the youth that are either younger or not thinking about college at this time, my advice is please just give it a shot. School might not be for everyone, but maybe it is, and maybe it will change your life forever in a good way, like it did for me. My advice is to leave the area, talking about, wherever you're at, which is probably Humboldt Del Norte, even for a little bit, because home is so small and it's always going to be there. This world is so big, and there's a lot of ton of amazing people and things to be exposed to. I have a friend from Iowa. I have a friend from South Dakota. I have a roommate from New Mexico. My coworkers are from the East Coast. And if I would have stayed home, I would be surrounded by people who are from the same place as me, which isn't bad. Just like I said, home will always be home and ceremonies will go on. But that feeling of bringing back a piece of paper that will get you paid twice more than you would if you would have stayed home, it's going to feel really good. So I just say get out there, get out of your comfort zone and just do it.
Thank you. The next question I have is, what is the favorite part of your college career, and what support systems have you found in college?
Yeah, kind of similar to the last one, the networking and the kind of career path I found. I thought I knew what I wanted to do when I graduated high school. I liked history. Uh, I thought about my youth back home, and high school. So I was thinking high school history teacher, that sounds fun. So I took a couple classes and, oh yeah, I should back up. My school is a liberal arts college, which is a little different than most universities, meaning you get exposed to everything no matter kind of what, and it's all kinds of different stuff. So I took some classes, or as I took classes, got into some internships and professionals. I met professionals. I began to change my course of my career. I also like meeting new people, whether they're friends, colleagues, classmates, or employers, because you never know who you can meet and what they can do for you. I just happened to join the environmental center, met this boss who was so passionate about food security. And if she wasn't so passionate about food insecurity and what she did, I probably would still be on the way to becoming a high school history teacher, which I wouldn't mind, but now I found exactly what I love. And then I also found a lot of numerous support groups, and all of them have been nothing but beneficial. First off, at school, the Native American Center has done wonders for me, as it provides me a great study place and a place to eat. And it also made me feel comfortable because I'm surrounded by a lot of different natives. And also, like I was talking about, I joined the Environmental Center, and that changed my life, as it literally put me in my career path I am today, with food and stuff, and also being surrounded by a diverse group of passionate environmentalists has provided me with a ton of friends I still have today. So um, that's just another little thing of getting out there in college, what it can do for you.
Thank you, Donald. Um, in what ways do you want to help and give back to the community?
Yeah. Um, there's a lot of ways. Like I was talking about earlier, youth is kind of my focus. So a lot of the kids that are on here, specifically like kids from back home. So like educating, uh, like I like this food insecurity stuff. I think really it's really the one of the most important components of society, and educating. So I like definitely like being out in the garden and cooking stuff up. But my favorite thing is having a conversation with people at late night brush dance, having a conversation and being like, this did you know this, and they're like, oh no, or did you know you can set this up here. And so educating and coming back and kind of restoring our food systems, teaching our exactly what this panel is about is what I like too, is teaching our youth that college is a reality. Like I didn't have I had a good um educational career all the way up in high school, but I just never really thought of college. I only had one parent that went through college, and um, I was older then, and so like I just didn't really think college was like that thing. I was like, oh, college is for other people and stuff. But once I started getting good grades, gotten into different classes, I was like, you know what, I could Colorado for college or something. And so just keeping just teaching kids that there's bigger things than the reservation, and it's really cool.
Thank you. And I think I skipped a question. I wanted to ask you what the biggest stressor for you during this pandemic has been, and what keeps you motivated during the pandemic for school?
Okay, yeah. I think we could all relate to it. Is like being isolated and not being surrounded by those support groups as much. I think when I first came back, the Native American Center, they weren't open. You could just go in there, grab food, but there was no computer. And usually that was sometimes I was struggling and wasn't that place was a place, you know, I could eat, and the place where I was studying. So not being surrounded by that much, but also learning virtually has been rough. Like I was talking about, it's hard to learn with Zoom. I'd rather you show me what to do with my eyes. And like I said, not being able to do something in lab with hands-on work. But what keeps me motivated is I have a lot more time for myself. So now it's kind of really me and up to me what I need to do. So I more self-care. And the other motivation is at some point, may not be over, but it's going to get better, and I'll be able to be around those support groups, and maybe they're working on themselves and they're that much stronger when I am able to be surrounded by those support groups.
Good, thank you. So Donald, is there anything else that you would like to add that we haven't covered?
Yeah, I'll just give a little overview on Fort Lewis itself. I always try to people that aren't really like super motivated, but thinking about college, I always try to put it in their head that, um, like I said, it's not a tribal college, but it is for Native Americans. It's tuition free. If you stay on campus and get a meal plan, it's going to be more. But I stay off campus. All you need to do is get a couple scholarships, get a higher ed grant every semester, and it's not necessarily. I'm not saying it's for you're going to school for free, but it's pretty close to free. It's a really good education. We get the same professors as people at CU Boulder and CSU kind of, or that used to be there. So I really advocate for Fort Lewis. It's in a really beautiful town in the southwest part of Colorado, not really towards Denver. So, you know, there is a reservation close by. That's the Navajo Reservation, 40 minutes from New Mexico, 3 hours from Albuquerque. You'll meet people from even Humboldt, Del Norte. You'll meet people from Maine or Washington. So I really highly suggest Fort Lewis as a college or as an option, because it's really fun, and it's a good transition from Northern California to here because it's really outdoorsy. We just got 14 inches of snow yesterday, so that was crazy. But if you like that, I think Fort Lewis is a good place for almost anyone.
Great, that's very good. Thank you, Donald. I appreciate you being here, and welcome you to stay on. This is an opportunity for all of you students out there. If anybody has a question, you can raise your hand, or you can speak into the chat box and ask Donald any questions that you may have. Donald has a lot to share with us. And this brings us to our first question for a prize. And you're going to be answering in the chat box. So the first question I have is, what was Donald's original major when he went to college? What did he first think that he wanted to do? So what was his plan? Does anybody remember? While you're thinking about that and
Cecilia
entering,
already has it in the chat box, and she said history.
And I don't think hers should count though.
She was quick.
I would like a high school student to answer this question. There was
All right, well, we got Juliana Stanshaw saying a history teacher. So
okay, we have a winner. And I'm gonna thank you so much, Juliana.
Yeah.
We will.
there was two people. I actually skipped the first one of Lyle. I'm sorry, I didn't see that one above. She actually said history before Juliana did.
Got it. I wanted to mention before we move on to the next person that if you are an enrolled tribal member, it may be important for you to check with your tribe when you are ready to go to higher ed, whether you're going for a degree or a certificate, because your tribe may have some assistance for you. Not every tribe does, but it's always good to ask. So if you are going on to higher ed, please check in with your own tribe. And I am going to pass this on to Jessica, are you in, Jessica?
Yep, I'm here.
Thank you.
Sorry, everyone. I had some internet issues, so I was off for a minute. So let's welcome our next panelist, Chuchish O'Rourke from College of the Redwoods. Chuchish, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Hi, Chuchish.
Hi.
So we're going to start off. I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself by your name, family, village, tribe, and your major. And then after you're done, I'm going to ask you the remaining questions.
Okay. My name is Chuchish O'Rourke. My parents are Greg O'Rourke and Liz Lara O'Rourke. I'm from Morrick, Notchgo, Hoopa, Medilden, and Chapek. And my major is in psychology, and I'm Yurok.
Thank you. The next question is, what school do you go to? Is it a traditional or online school? Are you attending in person at this time?
I go to College of the Redwoods, and due to COVID-19, it's online, and I'm going to school online.
How has your cultural participation helped you to achieve your current level of success, and how are you active in the Native culture as a college student?
I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't sure how to answer this question, but being part of a culturally active community does help me have a sense of community and that I'm not alone, and them offering their support, I think, has helped me just throughout my life in general. And the way I participate in culture is I go to ceremonies. My mom teaches Yurok language. I participate in Native youth summer camps, and I've helped make regalia, etc.
Hardest transitions from high school to college, and how have you been able to overcome them?
I think the hardest transition for me was gaining a sense of independence and self-discipline. Because when you're in college, your professors aren't gonna, bug you about turning in an assignment, and they're not gonna hunt you down if you do have a missing assignment, especially right now because we're all online. And I think, online school does take a sufficient amount of self-discipline and dedication, independence. But for me, what's been helping me do that is staying organized and keeping a little planner and distributing my work very evenly so I don't overwhelm myself.
That's awesome. What advice to your high school younger self on what you would have done differently to better prepare for college, and what advice or tips do you have for the students that are working towards attending college?
I think my biggest advice is just to reach out to people and to not be shy to talk to your, high school counselors, call a college counselor and have them help you set up your schedule, and talk to the Yurok Tribe guidance technicians or JM tutors like me. I mean, it's our jobs to help you. And I wish I did that in high school, but I just got too shy and I just kind of, I don't know, had to figure it out while I was going along. So I say just reach out.
What is your favorite part of your college career, and what support systems have you found there?
I have two favorites. So one part of college that I really like is just the freedom. You're able to pick and choose your classes. You're able to set up your own schedule. And while doing so, you're also exposed to many subjects that you may have not been familiar with or didn't know even existed. And you could discover an underlying passion that you may or may not know you have had. And again, like I said, college counselors have been really helpful for me. I've been trying to reach out to more, and they're there to help. So yeah.
What is the biggest stressor for you during this pandemic, and what keeps you motivated during the pandemic?
Well, right now I'm at CR and I'm trying to transfer to HSU in the fall of 2021. And just that transitioning period is very stressful for me, and trying to figure out how to pay for HSU has also been a huge stressor for me during the pandemic. But I always just try to remember my end goal and to know that it will get better. I mean, it will happen. Time will go on. Yeah.
In what ways do you want to help give back to your community/tribe?
Well, like I said, I am a psychology major, and I specifically want to help those who are living with psychological disorders, such as like anxiety, depression, etc. And within our native, or we as Native Americans in our demographic, we have alarming rates of historical trauma, adverse childhood experiences, depression, alcoholism. And I just want to be able to help break that cycle of dysfunction.
Is there anything else that you would like to add?
I think that CR and just community colleges in general, I don't know, have like a weird stigma of not being as good as, universities. But for me, I'm very happy with going to CR before HSU, because when I was graduating high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what I wanted my major to be. I don't know, I was kind of lost. So going to CR just gave me time, and I took a couple classes that I enjoyed and just got to figure it out.
Awesome, Chi-Chi's. Well, we'd really like to thank you for taking time out to be part of our college panel. I'm going to open it up to see if there's anybody that would like to ask Chi-Chi any questions. You could type it in the chat or raise your hand. And while we're waiting for people to ask questions, I'll hand it back over to Chris.
Okay, so earlier I asked a question, and our winner, Pachomio, he was our winner, and he got a basketball. I have another question. The winner will get this really cool hat with the Yurok logo on it. So I want to give that away. So the question that I have, based on what Chuchish was talking about, I'm hoping everybody was listening. She mentioned a few challenges that are going on that she had in transitioning to college. And I'm going to ask you to type into the chat box two of the challenges that she's had, that she has had to learn to overcome, and how she what she did to overcome those challenges. So 2 things into the chat box while you're doing that. And I wanted to also encourage you to consider that the Yurok Tribe Housing Authority offers some help for tribal members, not just the Yurok tribe, for assistance in the cost of housing. There's an apartment building that is based in Eureka, sort of halfway between College of the Redwoods and HSU, that is all for college students. And so you have to apply to the housing authority, and there's 1-bedroom apartments that are available. Sometimes there's a waiting list, so I would suggest applying early. They also offer some limited assistance for those who are living in apartments outside of the area, just a little additional support. So the housing authority has their own application, so you would want to contact them for information. Do we have anybody? Let's see. I don't see anybody in the chat box who's offered an answer to the question that I just asked. Two ways that Chuchi said, wait, that's it. Let's see. 2 ways. Okay, I got one. That was one answer, finding assistance. Anybody else? I wanted 2. I wanted 2 things. There was something else that she did to help her with school. Okay, there we go. Lyle has given us something, finding assistant and reaching out to advisors. Those are 2 great things. Those are 2 great things to know. All right, I'm going to pass this back to Jessica.
right, let's welcome our next panelist, Yovela Reese from Sacramento State University. Yovela, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, Yovela. So we're going to start out. I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself by your name, family, village, tribe, and your major. And then after you're done with that, we'll follow up with the rest of the questions.
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Yovela. I belong to the Yurok tribe. I'm a descendant of the Karuk, Osage, and Tohono O'odham tribe. I am a psychology major at Sacramento State, and my mother and father is Melissa and Aaron Reese.
Thank you, Yovela. What school do you go to? Is it a traditional or online school? Are you attending in person at this time?
I am at Sacramento State University, and I am in the online degree completion program. Because I do have a baby, I go to school online, but I have the choice of taking classes on the campus or going online if I want to.
Awesome. How has your cultural participation helped you to achieve your current level of success, and how are you active in the Native culture as a college student?
So I would say that I have learned a lot of and gotten a lot of my strength, my pride, and determination from those who I have hung out with in the brush dances, having my own flower dance. I've been able to take a lot of the lessons that I've learned through dances to help me succeed in school. And I also have built a strong community at home. They're always rooting for me. They want me to be successful, and that's always helpful when you're so far away from home. And then I also like to implement teaching stories and language as much as I can to my son and to my family, but we're still learning and growing together.
Hardest transitions from high school to college, and how have you been able to overcome them?
So I have a couple things to talk about here. Is the first thing that I would say is living independently. When you move away and you go to college, you know, you're going to have to learn how to do things like pay your bills, do your own laundry, schedule time for sleep and do your work, and just really figure out how to manage your lifestyle. Another thing is being accountable for yourself. There's going to be nobody to remind you to do your homework, nobody to remind you that you have bills to pay. You know, just whatever you have going on in your life, you are now responsible for it yourself. And then another thing is balancing work, school, and family life. Work is work takes up a lot of your time. School takes up a lot of your time. School is almost like a full-time job itself. And, when you get older and you have a family, it's something that you're going to just really have to learn how to balance, and while taking care of yourself and managing self-care and finding ways to learn how to be independent at the same time. And another thing is when you go to school, you're going to have to, whether you live on the dorms or you find your own apartment, you might have to have a job, and it just may seem overwhelming to learn how to do all these things and grow up and be independent. And then the last thing is finding a community away from your home. Going to college, it may be very isolating or lonely at first. You get homesick and you're just trying to figure out how to blend in and find friends and all of that away from your community that you grew up in.
Thank you. That was a great answer. Next question is, what advice to your high school younger self on what you would have done differently to better prepare for college, and what advice or tips do you have for the students that are working towards attending college?
I would say the biggest thing is focus on your grades. What you're doing now is going to impact your college career. Your grades are going to determine what kind of colleges you're going to get into, whether it's community college or university or vocational school. Get letters of recommendation early and make those connections because you're going to need them. You're going to need them for jobs. You're going to need them to get into college. And there's just so many uses for them. And then figure out how you're going to pay for school. Are you going to take out student loans? Are you going to apply for grants and scholarships? The best thing to do is apply for those things early so that you know how you're going to finance your education. Go and research the area that you want to move to. Go on college tours. The Yurok tribe is really good about taking people on college tours and going to different schools. And know what you want to go to school for. Take career assessments. Talk to people. Reach out and interview people. Ask them what they do. Do they like it? How much do they get paid? A lot of those things are going to determine like your desired major. I switched over from being a veterinarian now to psychology because I went there and in a vet's office and I decided it wasn't for me. So it's okay to change your mind. And then the last one would be learn how to be a better student. Learn how to take notes, be an active student, active listener, because that's going to be very beneficial for you when you get into college.
Thank you. That was really great advice. The next question is, what is your favorite part of your college career and what support systems have you found there?
I would say getting past the general education part and starting on the classes that relate to my major. It can be kind of frustrating at first when you take classes that you may not want to take, but you need to take to graduate. So take the time to, figure out what classes would be the best for you. But, now that I'm actually working on my bachelor's degree and are in those classes, they're more interesting to me. And now it's easier to learn and pay attention. And then different support systems that I found. There's academic advisors. There's a Native Scholars program at Sac State. And there's a degrees program. I started at Sac State not even just barely a year ago now. So the pandemic has started kind of right when I began at Sac State. So I haven't been able to be involved as much as I'd like because people are working from home and not on campus right now.
Thank you. What is the biggest stressor for you during this pandemic and what keeps you motivated during the pandemic?
I would say the isolation from friends and family. I'm not able to go and visit my family over in Hoopa. I'm all the way over here in Sacramento. So sometimes it's lonely. And then the other thing is, it's really hard to stay connected to the campus faculty and trying to get a hold of people that you need to get a hold of because they're working from home and there's like an increased volume of people who need help because people are still trying to navigate the system. And then what keeps me motivated is I just want, I know that my degree is a stepping stone to my career. It's something that I really want to do. And, I'm just so close. So I just keep that in mind as this is such a small chunk in your life. And it's a little bit of pain for a lot of benefit in the end. So you just have to keep that in mind while you're going to school. And it's frustrating. It's just, it's a small chunk of time. It may feel like a long time, but it's not really.
In what ways do you want to help / give back to your community / tribe?
The biggest way is, I'm working on psychology, focusing on mental health, and I just really want to offer support, guidance, mentorship. My focus is working in the juvenile justice system, and there's a lot of minorities in the juvenile justice system that have never had any contact or help or support before they have been arrested or went to jail. So I just really want to help and offer my support.
Is there anything else that you would like to add?
I would say take care of yourself. Taking care of yourself is going to be the number one thing while going to school, because you may feel burnt out. It's stressful. It's hard, but it's worth it. So learn how to take care of yourself, whether it's going for a walk or reading or beading or, whatever it may be for you. It's going to be very helpful. And then the last thing would be don't compare yourself to others. Meaning, a lot of these people that may be the same age as you, they may be going faster in school. You may see people graduate before you, but don't let that discourage you. It's kind of like me. I took a break and I went back to school, and I just think like, man, I could have been graduated with my master's already, but I took a break, focused on myself, my family, and really took the time to decide what I wanted to major in and what I wanted to do. So that's really important too.
Great. Thank you, Yovela. That was a lot of interesting stuff that you had pointed out. We really like to thank you for joining us today and taking time out of your busy schedule. We encourage you to stay on if you would like. I also want to remind everybody to be listening and to answer questions. We have a lot of great prizes. You could type it in the chat box. And Chris, I'll hand it back over to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yovela, and he is super cute. I want to remind you that we need you to stay on for all of the presentations. So stick around. We have lots of prizes to give away. I have a question for you from what Yovela has had to say. Two important things that she mentioned, and gosh, I'm pulling these from a couple of different things, that two important pieces of advice. I'm going to give a prize to the first person who gives me one piece of advice, and then a prize to the second person who gives another piece of advice that Yovela has offered. So get ready in the chat box, and you can type that in when you're ready. I also wanted to say that when you're in college, they don't provide you books like they do in high school. In college, you have to provide your own materials. So that often means some very expensive books, and books can cost hundreds of dollars in college. But there are online businesses out there where you can go online and look for the textbooks that you need. And sometimes you might have to go to two different sites, but you can rent textbooks and they will put them in a big cardboard box and send them your way. And you open up the box, inside is a return label. So you can like take the tape off the sides and crunch that, fold that box down, use the book, stick the box under your bed. And when you're done with the textbooks, you tape that box up back together and put the books back in, mail it back. And oftentimes you can pay like 1/3 of the cost of what buying textbooks would cost. There are several different sites online, so keep that in mind. Okay, did we have anybody? Oh, here we go. We're looking for some answers here. I have Satine, make sure to remember about doing homework and bills. That is awesome. That is one definite piece of advice that she offered. One more, anybody else? There were some more things that she did say. Anybody want to raise?
The first two answers was from Lyle and then from Nisea. said, take care of yourself. And then Nasea Reese said, seek out assistance from others.
Wow, those are all good. Okay, what do I have here? I have a water bottle. This is a hydro flask, so it's pretty awesome. I'm going to be giving away that. I am also going to be giving away a Papa Murphy's pizza card and a beanie, a tribal logo beanie. This is pretty awesome. And I'm going to be pulling those names out from the chat, and I'm going to turn it back to Jessica.
Thank you, Chris. Let's welcome our next panelist, Pectason Felice. Are you there, Pectason?
Hello.
Hi, Pectason. So we're going to start out from you introducing yourself by your name, family, village, tribe, and your major. And then after you're finished, I will go through and ask you the rest of the questions. And Felice is a student from the University of Oregon.
Hello.
Sorry.
Hi, my name is Pectason Felice. I'm from Wichpeck. I'm a Yurok tribal member, and sorry.
And what is your major?
I am a psychology major with a minor in law, and I'm in the pre-law program at University of Oregon.
That's awesome. Thank you, Pectason. We'll move on to the next question is, what school do you go to? Is it a traditional or online school? And are you attending in person at this time?
I do go to the University of Oregon. It's traditionally like in person, but due to COVID, all classes except for like big labs for science, which I'm not in, is in person. So I'm just remote on Zoom most of the time.
Great, thank you. How has your cultural participation helped you to achieve your current level of success, and how are you active in the Native culture as a college student?
Culture, like my culture and how I participated in it throughout my life, kind of really shaped the way that the way I view the world and the way of thinking. And I kind of take that into my classes with me. And I kind of use the way I talk and the way I think and kind of how I process stuff is the way that I was taught from like ceremonies and just being around elders and all of that kind of thing. And just the way that I value certain things is different from other people in my classes. So it really affects how I learn and how myself as a person I present myself in my classes. And active as of now is kind of hard to do like cultural wise, but I do pray, and I'm part of this women's wellness group that we have there. It's like Indigenous women all throughout the University of Oregon. We come together on Zoom and we just talk about everything and kind of the stuff that we don't get from ceremonies, which is all that like medicine, all that kind of stuff that kind of replaces it not replaces, but is again of a thing that we do instead of ceremony, because we can't really have our normal ceremonies and just the group activities that we all have as a tribe, like a tribal community.
Well, that's awesome. I bet you're really grateful to be a part of that. The next question is the hardest transitions from high school to college, and how have you been able to overcome them?
I think the hardest transition was just kind of like the social aspect of it. I'm not really a social person, like inherently, because for like high school and like middle school and all that, I had the same people throughout my life, kind of to just talk to and be around with. But in college, I knew no one except for a couple like higher up, like older kids, but they didn't want to hang out with the freshmen as much. So I kind of had to make my own crew. And luckily I made a couple friends. My close friend, she's from Washington, and I got really close with her, and just being able to have another Indigenous person in my life like that is really important. And just because without, you kind of want to find your people in higher education, because it makes life easier, and you're able to just, you know, just do the normal things that people do, because it sucks to be alone and not have anyone when you're going through this big part of your life. So that was probably the hardest thing. Also, money. I'm not good at spending money on by myself. I tend to just buy things randomly. So I kind of had to become more responsible financially.
Thank you. That was a great answer. What advice to your high school younger self on what you would have done differently to better prepare for college? And what advice or tips do you have for students that are working towards attending college?
In high school, I had a tendency to compare what I was doing to other people, and that brought myself down without what I was trying to do. So I would always try to over like I would overwork myself to a point where I kind of just gave up on certain things. And if I didn't see myself as this bigger, not a bigger person, but like having the ability to say that, oh, I wanted to stand out a lot in high school, like academically wise, and that kind of put a hindrance on my like how I took high school and how I experienced it. I wish I kind of took it easier on myself in high school, but it got me where I am right now, which I'm thankful for. But I feel like I would still be here in this position that I am right now in school if I just maybe just take it down a couple steps, because I kind of was overworking myself. And oh god, sorry. And for my advice for the students is be able to realize yourself and how you work as a person academically, and know how you learn, because high school teachers, they they do have smaller classroom sizes rather than college classroom sizes, but they still kind of think that all students learn the same. But just being able to find out how you yourself as a person learns and takes in information is super important, and it'll help you in the long run to realize to kind of advocate for yourself and be like, hey, can you re-say this? Can you talk me through this in a way that I can learn, and I'm not just kind of just in the open, not knowing what to do and just being confused and kind of suffering the consequences later on.
Great, thank you. What is your favorite part of your college career and what support systems have you found there?
My favorite part is the opportunities that that I was able to be a part of and that I'm going to be a part of. Like in the first place, I wanted to be a psychologist, and work with like the criminally insane people, which now I can't even think about doing that because that's a little too much for me as I am now rethinking it. And I want to work with I want to be a lawyer, which I don't know how that came to that, but I can barely talk on Zoom. How I'm going to talk in a court, but we'll get there. I'm only in my second year. But and then I want to the opportunities, so I'm close with multiple women that went through the law program at University of Oregon, and so they're there to support me and talk me through what I kind of want to do. And they introduced me to this job that I might have that I hope I applied to, is like this prisoners advocacy thing within like the prison system in Oregon, and just kind of being able to be there as an advocate, and this just being able to, they're trying to get out of like prison, but like it's a whole thing. I'm not going to explain it too much, but job opportunities and experience is super important in like law school and all that stuff. So I want to try to be able to kind of carve my path to there easier. So having job opportunities is really nice, and be able to work for community and all that stuff is nice. And the support systems is, there's a pretty decent sized like indigenous group at University of Oregon, but there are only like a couple of actual groups that take their time to advocate and listen to their indigenous students. Like I said, I'm part of that indigenous women's wellness group, which is really nice. And we just talk on Zoom. Like I said, we have little oh god, little journaling things, which is really cool. So they kind of take time to really focus on mental health. And there's also the ARC, which is like an academic residency thing that they do for the Native American studies. Like I'm not a Native American studies minor, but they still have that kind of support system for their incoming Indigenous students, which really helped me in my first year. And just being able to like have that place to have those people to like talk to, even like now that was last year, just having that kind of support group, I feel.
Well, we hope that you get the job. The next question is, what is the biggest stressor for you during this pandemic, and what keeps you motivated during the pandemic?
The biggest stressor I feel is it's like finances and being able to like pay my bills. And thankfully I was able to keep my job with the university that I have. I work with the Multicultural Center as a front desk person, and they were able to like have the front desk be all turned to remote work, which is nice. So I got to keep that job, which is it's stressful sometimes. It's remote and it's hard to deal with students just over like Microsoft Teams and everything in that, and just being able to, it's just money things, like adult things, which I'm just now realizing that I need to maybe start worrying about more, which sucks, but it comes with the times and the age. And what keeps me motivated is that I just I don't know. I'm having a hard time kind of motivating myself these days, but I just think about like how my family and like friends, like people back home in Humboldt, they want me to do good. So I'm like, if they want me to do good, then I guess I got to do good. So just having people be like, yeah, you got this, or just if you don't do this, it'll be bad. So just the pressure from people, but it's like a positive pressure, I guess, but just trying to figure out how to like stay in a positive like way, kind of. I don't know, but yeah, that's what I'm think that's what motivates me basically.
In what ways do you want to help / give back to your community / tribe?
I when I graduate, when I have my law degree and I get my years in that I need to have, I want to come back to the tribe and work with our like not childcare, but our ICWA program that we kind of have with the tribe, and be that person to have to support our Indigenous youth in like tribal court and like that kind of way, because it's hard to have a non-Indigenous, non-Yurok person be trying to advocate for these kids. Like they know well and good, but they don't really know what like kind of issues that go through and the cultural reasons why we do want to, how we want to handle these types of situations in which they have to like take a child out of a home. I kind of just want to be there to support and advocate for the Indigenous youth within our own tribal systems, which I think that I can do for some reason, but like I said, I'm learning. It'll be by the time I have all the credibility, it'll be good.
That's awesome. Thank you, Pektasan. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
I feel just kind of going back to like being able to like speak up for yourself. That kind of speaks into the pandemic and like being in quarantine and all this. Like take the time to recognize how you are and gauge your own mental health. I feel like it's such a big issue right now, and it'd be nice to just it's hard to find that socialization that you used to have without the pandemic, but don't feel afraid to reach out when you need help. I need to start doing that, and other people, they reach out to me and I talk to them about it. But there are people there for you that they care about you and they're willing to listen, and just like kind of take a time to, I'm not saying doing all that mindfulness stuff because that doesn't always work for people, but just being able to like recognize how you are as a person right now and what will help you if you are kind of going through something. So just always, people are always there for you.
Yes, that's very, very important during this time. Well, thank you, Pektasan, for taking time out to join us. We really appreciate it. You're welcome to stay on. I'm going to leave this time open for students to ask questions to you. You could type it in the chat box, or you could raise your hand, and I'll hand it back over to you, Chris. Thank you, Pektasan.
Thank you.
Pektasan, I have a question. So you moved to another state to go to school, as Donald did. How was that for you?
It was really I really enjoyed it because like Humboldt's all well and pretty and California is nice. It's nice being near the ocean, but being able to be like, oh yeah, I moved to Oregon is really cool, and being able to just kind of, even though it's only like 5 hours away from where I live, it's still like out of state. So it's nice to be like, oh, I'm going out of state for school. I mean, at first it was scary because I'm just a little person and I didn't know anyone, but being able to finally like find my place in Oregon was really cool. And like before COVID, I was always out walking around, finding new things, going hiking. I never go hiking, but I went hiking like all the time before COVID. So it was really fun, new experience. And I recommend it to going out of state for school, even though like your parents probably don't want you to, but I just go out of state for school.
Thank you. You had some very thoughtful answers. I appreciate that. Um, One of the things that Pectison talked about early on in the conversation was something that she noticed that was a difference for her. And let's see, how am I going to ask this? Um, I think the question had to do with how does her culture, um, how has a culture affected her while she was away at school? So I want you to think about what she said when she talked about culturally, how that helped her in school, and what differences she may have noticed. So think about that and type that into the chat box so we can give away some prizes. I did also want to mention that there are a couple of programs that I notice students don't always look at when they are applying to college. One program in particular is through the community college. It is the Educational Opportunity Program, which is a program and services, which is otherwise known as EOPS. And at the university level, the program is the EOP, which is the Educational Opportunity Service, or Educational Opportunity Program. But either of those programs, whether it's at the community college or the university level, can help you with several types of support. They can help you. Sometimes it has to do with counseling. Whether that's academic counseling or adjustment, that kind of things. Sometimes those programs can help you to get to the top of the list and have enrollment like a priority, so you get to the top of the list for a class. Otherwise you might be at the bottom of the list. Sometimes it's help with getting textbooks. Sometimes it has to do with getting free parking pass, which can be very expensive. But there are different things that the different programs offer, and each school uses their money differently to help students. But the EOP and the EOPS programs are usually, the application for those programs is right in the application when you're applying for the school. For the college that you're interested in. So make sure to take the time to fill that out. You can always choose not to use the services if you don't want them, but you can't join generally afterwards because they fill up in a hurry, because it's a very valued program. EOP and EOPS is something to look for when you're applying for school. I
Yes,
see.
we have a question in the chat box.
Yes.
If you want to look at it, or I could read it for you, or
I see it right here. Thank you. Pectison, the question is, what are some of the financial aid and grant opportunities that you've been able to receive going to the University of Oregon? And also, was your out-of-state tuition waived?
So I myself personally have not received any financial aid and grant opportunities from the university itself because freshman year I forgot to do them. So do the scholarships and research it before you do it. But the Multicultural Center does have this one. It is called oh God, I think it's the Dreamers and it's pretty much like a full ride. You just have to you have to do work study, which is you have to find a job within the campus and they give you work study, and it's pretty much your whole tuition is paid for, but you have to follow some qualifications and you have to have a certain GPA. I think it's a 3.5. You have to keep 3.5 in order to keep it, which is understandable because it's like I said, it's pretty much all your tuition is paid for. And since I am a tribal member, you do get out of in-state tuition, which is really nice. And in the beginning, they weren't going to give it to me because I don't really know why. But then there's this lady freshman advocate that she works with the Multicultural Center, and she actually fought for me to get in-state tuition, and which was also good because child members, and so if you're a child member, you want to go to University of Oregon, you'll have in-state tuition, which shaved off so much. So it's really nice to have.
Very good. That's a very good piece of information. Yes, tribes in the northern part of California in this area, because of the traditional trade routes that were there, there are several tribes in the Northern California area. If you are enrolled, like Pektasan has said, that the out-of-state tuition can be waived in California, or I mean in Oregon colleges. So keep that in mind when you're choosing. We have, let's see. Oh, here, another question for you. Pactus, what do you do for housing, and how did you find or become part of the women's group that you are currently involved in?
So freshman year, I lived in the dorms, and it was in one of the newer ones, Kalapuya, Ilihi, which is it's like the fancier one because it's new, and it was like a lot of athletes and all like the rich kids lived there. But I was part of this, like I said, the ARC, which was Native American Studies, and and
Her mom, Vincent was married to a lady from which.
Sorry, can we have everybody mute their mics? Go ahead, Pektasan.
sorry. And the program that I was a part of, it kind of required us to live in the ARC. Well, it wasn't required, it was just strongly like you should live here because that's where everyone else is that was part of that group. But we did get they did cut off some of the housing fees for us. But now, like as of now, I live in an apartment with my best friend and a couple other girls. So that was a big thing, trying to find like housing this year and then housing next year because it's only a year-long lease, and I don't live in a good place right now because it was the cheapest thing that I could find in such short notice. And they wouldn't let me out of my lease even though it was COVID. It's a whole thing. And so the women's group, it was kind of a thing that it was a couple of us, so like University of Oregon, they have the Native American Student Union, and a couple of female like women in that group were like, hey, this is not really something that we thought NASU was going to be, and especially like the student union. So they decided to come up with a women's group to talk about mental health and all of that. In the beginning, it was only me and like four other girls, and then we kind of built it up into something new more now. And so before COVID, we would like cook all together in the longhouse. I didn't mention it, but there's like a longhouse thing that's specifically for like Native American people. That's part of it, but other people can use it. And it's kind of just like a place where we can come and talk about the things that are bothering us in it. And so they invited me to come because I was part of NASU, and I'm a woman, and they're like, hey, do you want to come join? I'm like, okay, sure. So it's pretty much not like a big thing, but it was nice to have that kind of place to be in.
Very good. Thank you. Appreciate that, all of that information. We had, let's see, Nasea Ruiz, I believe, that she'd gotten the Papa Murphy's card. Let's see, we had Jade McCovey won a Yurok Tribe t-shirt. Okay, we're going to move on to the next person, but before we go, I wanted to mention something about the vocational rehabilitation program that is available for people who are living in the Hoopa area. This is another way of getting assistance. So if you have some type of a disability, the vocational rehabilitation program can help. So that would be something that you'd have to check with them about more assistance. And that is, I believe, put together with the Hoopa tribe, and also includes Yuroks can help Yuroks in the area. Jessica?
Yeah, I'd like to add to that, Chris. So it's for all federally recognized tribe people who are eligible for services, and the applicants must reside in Humboldt or Delnut counties. I had also asked if you are going to school out of the area or out of state, and they said as long as you can show that your actual address is in Humboldt or Delnut counties, you can still be eligible for their services. All right, let's move on to our next panelist, Kaya Ray from Humboldt State University. Kaya, are you there?
Yes. Yeah.
Hi, Kaya. So we're going to start off by you introducing yourself by your name, family, village, tribe, and your major. And then after you're done, we will go through with the rest of the questions.
Okay. My name is Kaya. My parents are Ryan Ray and Tara Jordan. I'm Yurok, Karuk, Pomo, and Hoopa, and some other stuff, not for sure. I'm a member of the Yurok tribe, and my major is geology.
Thank you. What school do you go to? Is it a traditional or online school, and are you attending in person at this time?
I go to Humboldt State University. It's normally in person, but for COVID, we're online.
How has your cultural participation helped you to achieve your current level of success, and how are you active in the Native culture as a college student?
For me, I grew up on the Klamath River. I did fishing and all that, so I actually was outside for like most of my life. It kind of helped me go towards environmental science as something I wanted to do in my future, and something I'm really passionate about, and how I chose to do what I'm doing in college. And I do dances, and I try to go gather, and just it really steered me into where I'm going with everything I'm doing.
Thank you. What is the hardest transitions from high school to college, and how have you been able to overcome them?
I think the hardest thing for me was moving. I went and lived in the dorms at HSU in the Native American suite. It's like a whole suite with like 6 rooms for Native American students that are attending there. And for me, I didn't like it. Like, it just made me sick, and I did not like it one bit. So that's when I decided to move home. But that's before I met like my friend. Like, I met her there. She lives in San Diego right now, and she became one of my close friends there. So something good came out of the dorms, and I moved back home because I had to drive down to HSU every day, which wasn't a big deal to me because I like driving and just thinking to myself most of the time. And yeah, that's what my biggest problem was the dorms.
What advice would you give your high school younger self on what you would have done differently to better prepare for college? And what advice or tips do you have for students that are working towards attending college?
I think it would be to actually pay attention and not goof around with my cousins in class, because I did a lot of that. And not always be with the tutors because I wasn't paying attention. So they would have to show me what I missed. But it was just for math though. Like math, I did not like math one bit. But now I'm actually learning it because it's for my major. So I wish, like, my advice would be pay attention in your class, even if your friends are in there, because it's going to kick your butt in the long run, like it's doing to me. I'm like trying to relearn everything because I didn't want to pay attention and hang out with my cousins instead of going to class or goofing around the whole time.
What is your favorite part of your college career and what support systems have you found there?
My favorite part would be my geology classes, because we actually go on field trips and go out in the field and study, which is like my favorite part. And then my resources, I was actually in a program my freshman year, which gave us like a mentor that helped us throughout the year and checked up on us and gave us advice and stuff like that. Like she really helped me. And then there's Intercept, which is a Native American for Native Americans that are doing STEM classes, science classes, any kind of classes like that, science. They really helped me. And then another one that helped me was ITEP, which is at HSU for any Native Americans to go to. Don't matter your major. That really helped me a lot. And I think it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have that many friends because I don't like talking to people or going out and meeting new people. So they kind of like helped me get out there and meet new people. And I met a lot of friends there. And we do like little events and we help plan for, I started working there. They offered me a job there. And so I started working there and we get to plan like a big events that happen, like the Big Five event that happens there. We're trying to plan that, but then COVID happened. So I think there's a lot of Native American resources there for Native people, which is really good help.
Great, thank you. What is the biggest stressor for you during this pandemic and what keeps you motivated during the pandemic?
I think my biggest stressor would be time. I don't manage time that good. So I go to classes, but I don't manage, like, I'm so bad at homework. Like, it's so hard for me to do homework at home. And I think, what was the second part of the question?
What keeps
Sorry.
you motivated during the pandemic?
Oh, okay. I think my family, like when I talk about stuff that I'm learning, they really ask me questions to actually remember what I'm learning. And like my aunties, my great aunties will ask me, "Are you still in school? When are you starting school again?" Just reminding me that I'm making them proud, just going. And like it just really keeps me motivated knowing people are going for me.
In what ways do you want to help / give back to your community / tribe?
With my major, I want to get my BS in geology and I wanted to transfer to get my hydrology degree so I could go to different reservations and help with natural resources and water quality and things like that. So I really hope to give back with my degree.
Awesome. Is there anything else that you would like to add?
Uh, there's people out there that would tell you to give up. I actually had a teacher that told me in high school to give up on my dream. And I had people thinking I was gonna make it in college because I was sick during the first week. So they're like, oh, they're not gonna make it, she's not gonna make it. But you have more people supporting you than people that are thinking you're gonna fail. Just remember that and just keep in your head that you could do it and push through it. That's what I did. And I'm still going for it and trying to do it. And there's a lot more people supporting me than telling me I'm not going to do it.
Thank you, Kaya. That's really great advice. I have a question for you. Are you residing on the HSU campus?
No, I'm in Klamath with my parents.
Okay, I thought you said that earlier. So we're going to leave this time open for students to ask you questions, or if anybody has any questions that they would like to ask you, you could put it in the chat box or you could raise your hand. And thank you, Kara, for taking time out to join us today. We really appreciate it.
Welcome.
I have another question for you. Do you get any assistance with helping like with gas vouchers for you to travel back and forth?
Yeah. For the first semester, because if you get like a certain amount of scholarships, it'll take away some of your financial aid, like the FAFSA, the grants you get for FAFSA. If you get grants, they'll take away that. So ITEP really helped me with the financial aid because we had to get some of my grants back because I got this scholarship called Full Circle, and I recommend getting that one because it really helps you. It gives you, like, it really helps. It helped me. And so we had to fight to get some money back because gas is so much going down there every day. So they gave me like half my scholarships back from just doing that and just keeping track of my receipts and stuff like that.
Awesome. That's really great that there's services out there that will help assist with gas. Just a side note that the vocational rehabilitation program also helps with gas vouchers. If you are traveling to school or anything of that sort, they will help assist you. Do we have any more
Okay.
questions for Kea?
I have a question for Kea. This is Chris. So Kea, can you tell the students, did you start at Humboldt State or did you start at a community college and transfer?
I started at HSU. I just jumped right into it.
And you still feel good about that choice?
Yeah, it's really like the first 2 years is like real easy classes. Like they didn't want to overwhelm us. Well, I was in Stars to Rocks program, which was a really good program for like if you're taking a science course, they'll put you in different programs to start out with and give you like kind of easy classes to start out with. So I'm really glad for the program Stars to Rocks, and they pick out your classes so you don't have to worry about that for the first semester. It made life so much easier. I think I would have been overwhelmed if it wasn't for them.
I have another question for you, Kea. You said that you work, correct?
Wait, oh yeah, at ITEP, yeah.
Okay, how do you manage your classes and then also having a job?
Well, I kind of only worked the first semester because of COVID happened. So for the first semester, I had like my classes like later in the day and like stuff like that, but I only worked at like certain hours. So I worked after my classes or in between my classes because they're really flexible there. So like if you have 2 hours to spare, you could work those 2 hours and just go to class and stuff like that.
Great. And is there any programs or like clubs that you would recommend for our students to be a part of?
Like in college or high school or both, kind of both.
I guess both. Yeah, both.
Okay. In high school, I was part of the Native Americans Club, which is really good and fun. Like sometimes if you have people that are willing to work with you and do things. In HSU, like they have a club for everything you could think of, like anything. Like I'm a part of the geology club, and that's because that's my major is geology. Oh, and I'm minoring in Native American Studies and Environmental Science. I forgot to say that. That's what I'm minoring in. And then I'm part of the ITEP and Intercept. They're like kind of club things. They do a lot of different things to help out, and that's what too I recommend if you're going to HSU. Really do those two things. If you're a science major, do Intercept, and if you're just well, we're all Native Americans here, so do the ITEP because they're really good and they'll help you a lot, especially like they advise you with so much stuff.
Great, thank you. I would also recommend this time to ask any other of the panelists questions. I think we still have a couple that are on, so if there's any questions that you didn't get to ask earlier, this would be the time. And Chris, I'll hand it back over to you.
So Donald, if you're still on, I think you're going to school the furthest away in Colorado. My question to you is transportation back and forth to Colorado. Do you drive? Do you take the train? Do you fly? How's that been working?
That's a tricky. So since COVID started, I have not really been transporting at all, just because of given reasons. But usually I would fly, and it takes about 2 flights. And as we know, San Francisco is about 6 hours from Arcata, which is the closest airport. But flying into Arcata is very expensive. Then also flying into Durango is very expensive. So usually I would hop on in San Francisco, fly to Denver, maybe catch a ride. If not, fly. I've driven a few times, and it's about 22, 23 hours away from McKinleyville. So usually fly / drive. But now that I'm here, I'm a senior and I'm working in COVID. I have not gone home since August. But usually what I use for that was, or I would use like my higher ed stuff for that, or whatever assistance I could get for that too.
Thank you. Yovella, are you still on with us? She may have had to go because of the baby. Okay, let's see. Chuchish, are you here? No, she had to leave. She had class, actually. So I'm going to move on to a question regarding Kea. So Kea had mentioned support. So support for her to stay on with school. Give me a couple of different types of support that Kea has received for school. Put that in the chat box, if you will. And then I also wanted to mention something about scholarships. Scholarships can be another way of earning some money to pay for school. You need to think about scholarship applications and applying for scholarships as your part-time job. I once talked to a guy who was going to going to UC Berkeley, which is, the other name is Cal, and he actually paid his entire cost of school, and that was, at the time, I think it was $35,000 a year. He paid for it all through scholarships. He considered it his job to apply for scholarships. And whether they were small or large, he went after everything that he could. And that's how he got by. It was much better than I mean, if you think about it, even if you get $100 scholarship and it takes you, let's say 3 hours to get your letter together and fill out the application and send it away and all of that. If it takes you 3 hours to put together a $100 scholarship, that's still $33 an hour. That's a pretty good deal. That's a lot higher than minimum wage. So scholarships are something that you really, really want to go after. There are scholarships all over the internet. We also, at the Yurok Tribe, in the education webpage, we have a list of scholarships that are specific to Native students, but don't limit yourself to that. There are scholarships through your local community, as Pektasan said, and at your schools. So look all over. They have scholarships for left-handed people, just all sorts. So make it worth your while to do that. It is scholarship season now. Let's see. I see a couple of good answers here. Is there anybody who has not answered a question? I see some names out there, but I'm not seeing those names popping up on the chat. Anybody else want to give it a shot? Okay, so I think that all of those answers were correct. ITEP at Humboldt State was one. Her aunts and her great aunts, that was absolutely right. and her family. And Humboldt Area Foundation is a very good one, Donald says, for scholarships. Yeah, that is a very good place to look for scholarships, through the Humboldt Area Foundation. The other thing, let's see, I think that was it. Oh, I did want to say that we had done a drawing from the list of students who were present. And one of the prizes that we have, as was mentioned very early on, is something that was donated from James Gensaw. And that is a deer horn knife. So that is a very special prize that we have. And that looks like it's going to Andrew Hunsucker. So that's pretty awesome right there. Andrew Hunsucker will be getting that special prize. Let's see. And Corby Skoglund. Corby is an adult, I believe, but we're going to send Corby something too. So thank you. Thank you for all being here. Jessica, do you have something else that you would like to say? I'll hand it back over to you.
Just that I hope you guys all took out something from today and learned quite a bit from the panelists who joined us. And a big thank you guys to coming on, Pekta-san, Donald, all of you that joined us. I know you guys have really busy schedules, so we really appreciate you joining us. And I think that's it. We went through all the prizes, Chris. You're muted, Chris.
Sorry, I do have more prizes. Jalea, can you help us with drawing some names?
AJ has the whole list.
Okay.
I think AJ's not on anymore. Yeah, I don't see him on here.
Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is we have the list that we have. I'm going to just start with the list that we have, and I'm just going to plant a prize with a list. And as long as you have given us your phone number, we can contact you and make sure that you get something for being here. We appreciate it.
Okay, Anthony's back on.
Sorry about that. I got kicked off.
Do you have the list of prizes, AJ?
Do I have the winners of the prizes? I do. I sent it over to Jalea.
He has a list of names, the attendance list and participants.
Okay.
And I have them marked off of which ones answered.
And did we get all the prizes? Did we do all the prizes, or do we have some left over?
We do have some prizes left over. If you have a name that you know that hasn't received a prize yet, why don't you give me the name?
I have Denise.
Yes, the prizes will be mailed to the students.
So Denise gets a yoga mat.
I have Andrew Hunsucker.
Andrew Hunsucker, yes, Andrew Hunsucker was the winner of the knife.
Okay, perfect. I got kicked off for that portion. Would you guys, are they all gone now? They didn't get to see the knife because I got cut off at that time.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
There's
It's like Andrew's still on here.
Okay, let's go to the next name.
the next person that I don't have anything for is Cecilia Moore.
Cecilia Moore is an adult, so let's go on to the next one.
Gotcha. And then there's Lorenzo. These were the what I thought were students that sent me contact information.
Okay. We have a soccer ball for Lorenzo.
And everybody else that I have on the list had participated in answering questions, and a couple of them are multiple answers. And I guess here is if you could see it, here's the knife that James made for us. It's made out of a deer horn right here that I'm holding. And then it's got a nice blade, and it's multicolor. It's got brown and
Yeah, it's mahogany obsidian. They call
There
it
you are.
mahogany. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's about I don't know, I'd say about 7 or 8 inches long. The blade's about 3 to 4, and then it's got a nice handle that it's tied into. So congratulations, Andrew, on winning James's nice piece.
Like, yeah, you can skin it out
Thank
with
you
it.
for donating.
All right. I want to thank all of you for being here, whether you're an adult or a student. And I want to thank especially our college panelists for taking the time out of their schedule for being here. Donald, Chuchi, Shivella, Pectison, and Kea. Study hard. We're waiting for you to get your education and come back and help the community and be the role models that you are. We expect that all of you will find your way to do whatever it is that is right for you to do as an adult, whether it's going to college or going through some other sort of training or life's lessons. But I have faith in all of you that you can have an important part in the community. And it is up to you to find what that part in the community will be. You are all valuable, and you need to find what your gift is going to be that you can share with others. So work hard, love hard, be communicating with people that you love and care for during this time, especially those that are kind of shut in. So it's hard on all of us. Communicate, call people, text people, and remember that people love you and they care for you. So be the best person that you can be. I want to thank all of you for being here. Walk thou.
Thank you. Taki Kimnawajit.
Taki Kimnawechik.